Hey everybody, how you doing? How's everyone feeling today? All right. Well, we are on our third and final week of our series called No Filter. And for some of you, this is going to be a pretty good day because after this message, after our small groups, those of you that are on the social media fast, it's completely done. We're done with social media fast. You can go back to snapping and all those crazy things we love to do. And so we're going to go into it, and this particular message is called Late Night. Late Night. One of the things that I want to talk to you about is that we have a fire in our hands, right? Social media is like a fire, okay? It could be a good thing, right? Fire's amazing. I love fire. The best food is roasted on fire, right? Marshmallows, make s'mores, wieners, lots of cool things. Okay, and then of course swords and armor and all these cool things, like medieval things are forged in fire. They talk about so cool. And of course, what would fireworks be without the fire, right? There's fire in fireworks. How spectacular are fireworks? And so when we see fire controlled, we see some incredible things. But then you can also see fire uncontrolled and can do some bad things. For example, the worst smell possible on this planet Earth is the scent of hair being burnt. Have you guys ever smelled that before? Ugh. It is the worst. Seriously. And then, of course, we know about fire, burning down houses and things like that, and we've seen it out of control. But then, one of the things that as well we can get bronchitis from fire inhalation. And say it all with me, ain't nobody got time for that, right? So it's the same thing with social media, right? We don't think about how dangerous or non-dangerous fire is typically. We just go, oh, we use it, it's good, it's all right. And that's the same thing with social media. Social media can be powerful, controlled, but if it's out of control, if it's not used in the right way, it could be dangerous and you can get burnt. So, like we said before, we're not trying to bash on social media, but we're saying that social media is a great tool to connect. But some things can get us burnt. And so out of my own experience, this one particular instance that we're going to talk about tonight is the biggest potential to get burned out of everything that we do on social media is when we are feeling lonely. And so I've connected with lots of youth and even with my own friends, and we're feeling lonely. Some things can get pretty out of hand really fast, and we can do some things that are really foolish. So one of the things that happens when we're lonely is we're looking for acceptance. And then we start doing things that we wouldn't typically do, right? So, for example, in person, when we're looking for acceptance and we feel lonely, and when we're in person, when we're here, we'll lie about ourselves. We'll say that we do things that we actually don't do just to make ourselves more interesting. Some people do that here. That's okay. Jesus still loves you. He's gonna help you on that way of lying. And then if you want to be accepted, sometimes you act fake. You do and say things and act a certain way just to kind of fit in because you don't have that sense of belonging. You don't want to feel lonely. But online, there's a different set of things that we can fall into as well. So when our acceptance bucket is at its lowest, that is probably the highest that we are of risk. And let me show you something it's just a simple formula that kind of tells you about the risks involved with social media. So loneliness plus privacy plus social media or Wi-Fi equals trouble. Right? So when it's late at night, okay, and you're just all snuggled, warm on your bed or whatever, and you're feeling lonely, this is a terrible combination. It can be, you need to be on alert for this, all right? So and all of a sudden what happens is, it's possible for you to start to see people as objects, to see yourself as an object, or just seeing people as not really people anymore, not as humans, but seeing them differently and less than human. And social media can change the way you view others. We were talking about how social media is great, but sometimes we need to let God change our view of ourselves. And sometimes we allow other people to change our view of ourselves, so we need to take that filter off as well. We need to put a personal filter when we're talking online. This third one is how social media affects us and how we see others. And so social media can be good or bad, but there's a lot of opportunities for things to go bad. So for example, one thing in social media or media in general is pornography. And porn just makes people into objects. It objectifies people. Do you guys know what that means? For someone to be objectified? Anyone want to explain that? Okay, I got a little object lesson for you, pun intended. Okay, so is this a person or is this an object? This stool his name isn't Gary, his name isn't Kevin, his name isn't Carl. It's a stool. No one's named him or her or it yet. It's an object, okay? It's not a person. This person doesn't have any feelings. When I interact with this thing, I'm not thinking about what's its history like, what its upbringing has been like, what is it feeling in this moment, and then what's it going to do later on in life. So when I do something like this, smack it upside the stool, I don't get all offended about it because it's just an object, right? I can hit it. You kick it, it's just an object. I'm not gonna hurt its feelings. But what pornography does when we look at people is that we desensitize ourselves and we also look them at as just an object. We don't think about what led them to there. We don't care about what they're going to be doing afterwards. They're simply just an object of our pleasure. And it does so much damage to us. And the thing about looking at porn is it gives us this kind of technological, artificial validation in the moment. But really, what happens, it just makes it worse. Pornography, if you go down that road, you'll learn, and if you're here last year and you heard about it, it just gets worse and worse and worse for you. So I got a question for you. And this whole talk isn't about porn. I understand that, but it is about social media. I got a question for you. Do you think that I'm going to get from this object, it's got its wizardry and things inside of it, do you think it's going to fulfill my need for validation? Or will a person, face to face, having a conversation about life, about our struggles, about our pain, about our joys, will this thing, literally just a piece of technology, it is a square. I know it connects us to all sorts of people. Literally, it is just an object. Do you think that this thing, I'm going to find my sense of belonging in it? Or am I going to find my sense of belonging and my community in a group of people like this? Right? Now, when it's late and you're dating someone, this is like the worst, right? This completely escalates. And what happens is, when you're late, talking with someone you're dating, your filter comes off, you're way too comfortable, and you're bound to do things that you typically wouldn't do, and you typically think that the other person is more trustworthy than they actually are. Now, I know I've been painting a bleak picture for you. I'm telling you, it doesn't have to be this bleak. I'm telling you that we can look in the Bible, and it helps us navigate through some of the stuff. And it's sounding kind of serious, right? Because it is serious. If you look at someone, and this affects your relationships, this affects friendships, relationships, your relationship with just people. If it dehumanizes people, it's actually sociopathic to its very core. It actually really is serious. So we need to do some things to get around that. So we're going to look at a piece of the Bible, and it's from Proverbs. You guys ever read Proverbs before? Okay, Proverbs is a collection of sayings, just simple, short sayings that are there to help you in your life, in your walk, and to give you advice with things, right? You guys ever heard of like Chinese proverbs? They'll say like a half truth is a full lie. Like so this is we've got them too. There's biblical proverbs as well. And the person who wrote this was this guy named King Solomon, and at the time he was the most powerful, most wealthiest person in the known world. And so we're getting some really great stuff from him. And it's just a simple phrase. Let me show you right now. It says this: the one who is wise is cautious and turns away from evil, but a fool is reckless and careless. One who is wise is cautious. All right, there is no argument here. All right, if you are a wise person, life's going to go better for you, right? It just simply is. You cannot argue that any other way. If you're a wise person, it's generally speaking, your life's going to turn out better for you. Yes, there are people that are just get lucky, but typically, if you're wise, life will go better for you. Is cautious and turns away from evil. Now, have you guys ever, you guys have ride a bike before, and your mom says like, drive carefully, ride carefully, look for potholes. Are you scared of those potholes? Is there fear involved? No, you know how to get away from them, but you need to be aware. You're looking out for them. You're being cautious, right? Now, on the other sense, it says, but a fool is reckless and careless. Okay, some of you guys bike ride, but do you drive? Do you have your driver's license? Anybody? No. You need to get your driver's license. Seriously, though. Like it would be good for you. Okay, get your driver's. So, those of you who have a driver's license, you go out, right? You go to our massive parking lot over here, and then you just do a crazy, crazy donut, and a police officer pulls you over, and you think, wow, this police officer is going to tell me how cool I look in my car. And you go, hey, did you see how cool my donut was? And he's going to say, yeah, super cool. Here's $250 worth of fines you need to pay because you are recklessly driving. And essentially all that means is you might be having fun. You might be going good for you and the people in the passenger seat or whatever, but really, truly, you are putting other people in danger by doing wild things, by doing foolish things, and not being wise. And so, when you're going through social media, when you're figuring this whole thing out, you need to ask yourself, am I being wise? Am I being cautious? Am I making decisions that are potentially hurting myself, potentially hurting someone else in the future? And we need to be careful about how we go forward. And so when you're feeling lonely and you have privacy, that's when you're prone to this sort of reckless and careless behavior. Now, okay, so we want to be cautious, we want to be wise. And I'm going to give you a way to do that. But first I want to show you something real cool. So one of my favorite places of all time, I haven't actually been there, but it's called Cliffs of Moher. And my sister went to Ireland and she actually visited these cliffs. And this cliff is in the Harry Potter movie, Half-Blood Prince. Okay, there's this really sweet moment where they're kind of near those rocks and it's awesome. Okay, so this is where it is. And you could visit these Cliffs of Moher and actually, go check it out. It is just massive. You know how big that drop is, right? It's just so huge. And if you fall off, you die, right? So here is a person who's pretending to fall off. They're like, ooh, I'm so brave. But actually, if you look at what's going on, is there's just a wall there. There's just a wall, and so if you were to fall over, he'd be okay. Like he'd just be over there. Now I've got a question for you. Why do you think they have this wall further back from the cliffs? Why do you think? They could have pushed it right up to the edge. Why do you think they didn't do that? Because it's dangerous. It's because they realize the closer you get, the more danger is involved. So they have this kind of buffer zone. I like to call it buffer zone. And the same thing we need to do in our own lives, in our own, and if you're not, I heard a lot of people they're not even on social media. I'm like, who are you people? Like, you're in your teens and you're not on social media, whatever. Okay, whatever. If you're not on social media, this even applies to you in any area you can think of, is you need to create a boundary, a guardrail, something that is close to, that is going to keep you safe. As teenagers, we do this all the time, right? Or I'm not a teenager anymore. But when I was thinking, how far is too far? How close can I get to that line? Right? I want to get as close as I possibly can because it's so much fun. But really, that is not wise. That is reckless, foolish behavior. We got to keep ourselves a comfortable distance away from danger. And so this is what I want to give to you as a formula to help you out with the whole social media thing, or anything really in general. It's called the Triumph Formula: pre-decide, pre-invite, plan a way out equals triumph. So before you even get into that crazy place where you're feeling like you need affirmation, you're about to do something you shouldn't, you should do this thing called pre-decide. You're going to ask yourself, which sites should I avoid after 11 o'clock? Which lines should I never cross? Or on social media, this could be like texting, and even though it's not technically social media, but it still has the same boundaries. What are some lines I'm just never ever going to do, okay, within online? What sorts of things will you refuse to do or say to another person online, no matter how insulted, hurt, or much they offended you? Now, this list can go on and on, right? Like, you can create your own list for yourself, okay? Next thing I want you to look at is the pre-invite thing, which is whatever you decide, you'll need to stick to that plan, right? You need to invite someone to be a part of that for you. So whether that's your small group leader, whether that's someone in your small group, say, hey, you know what? I've come up with these ideas, and I want you to keep me accountable to them. So they're going to check out with you. They're going to say, hey, how's that going? And if you really trust them, you give them your passcode to get into your cell phone to see what you're up to. And when you screw up, you get to be like, hey, you know what, I screwed up. Then you get to talk to someone about it. And they're not going to come on, they're not going to be like, yo, you suck for screwing up. They're going to help you get through it the way that we ought to together as a community. And and finally, plan a way out. You need an escape route, guys. You need to be able to have a handful of exits when you find yourself in a tough situation. So if you're tempted to cross a boundary, turn your phone off, okay? Derp. Turn your phone off, and then go for a walk or something, right? Or call up a friend. Immediately call up a friend and say, hey, you know what? I need something going on right now, and I really want to do something stupid. Call up that person that you're going to keep your accountable. You're going to call them up and be like, listen, this is not good, okay? I need you to just talk me out of it. Or get your mom to call you or something like that. I don't know. Anything. You need an escape route. Okay? So you need to pre-decide, you need to pre-invite, and plan your way out. And I know, guys, it seems like kind of crazy that we would go through all of this work just for social media. And I know initially how it sounds. But unfortunately, this whole thing of objectifying people and dehumanizing people and treating them just as an object, this is something that is so destructive to you in your life. And it's something that we need to put up guardrails. We need to put up our guardrails and say, we're not gonna get close to that, okay? That's something that we're not going to do. And when you look at Jesus and how Jesus treated people, he always treated them with such value. And he's even treated them even more than society had treated them at that time. And we are followers of Jesus. And Jesus has done something so incredible for us. And guys, we need to honor what has been done before us. We need to honor what the value of other people, just like Jesus did. And so as you walk from this place, I'm going to pray that we'll be able to walk that out. Jesus' name.